What is going on, guys? It is your boy West Coast, back at it again with a brand new video. And today's video is about the first time I ever smoked weed. And this is an oldie. This was 6 years ago. So this happened when I was 10. Holy shit. I know some of you probably started when you were younger. Like, personally, though, I didn't start till I was 10 years old. But anyways, this isn't my first time getting high story. I'll tell you about that story later, because I didn't get high from this. I'll explain why later. But anyways, this was, oh god, this was 2013, and I was 10 years old at the time, and I lived in town at that time before I moved, so I lived near a skate park, and I would just walk over there, and like past my house in front of the skate park, there was a baseball diamond with these big wooden bleachers. And, people would go up there to smoke and drink. And, the oftentimes kids, including me, there was like metal sheet metal right underneath of the seats that was kind of like a slide all the way down to the bottom. But anyways, people would slide down that, and it was pretty fun. But anyways, yeah, back to the story. So one day I was over at the park, and I was just chilling, riding around on a fucking ripstick, because, I was an edgy kid. I don't need more than two wheels. Yeah, but, so I'm riding a ripstick around, and there's this tall kid, hella sketchy looking, like, Buddy definitely looks like a meth dealer. And, I think he was bored that day, because if he wasn't, he probably wouldn't have invited me to smoke with him. So, yeah, I was walking around, and, as a little kid, I was a lot friendlier. So I ran up and like, hi, who are you? And he's like, oh, don't worry about who I am. You want to go smoke? And at the time, I was like, what do you mean? What do you have to smoke? And he's like, oh, I got some good weed. At the time, I didn't know this was shit weed. Like, it was ass. But anyways, yeah. So, he was kind of sketched out. So, I went over to hang out with him. And he had this homemade pipe that he made out of a socket with a piece of coffee filter wrapped around the end of it, and then an elastic band holding it on, and then that was inside of the body of like a pen tube. So that was his entire pipe, and it was kind of a piece of shit. And he whips out this little Altoids tin. If you don't know what Altoids are, they're like a mint, they're kind of like a mint. And dude, if you guys know where I can find like the cherry Altoids, I used to fucking eat those things all the time. They were so good. Leave it in the comments if you know where I can get those. But anyways, he whips out the little mint tin thing, and he's got these individually wrapped hits in like little pieces of paper. I don't know where the fuck he got it, and they were the tiniest hits ever. Like 0.005 grams. Like, it was the tiniest amount of weed. Like, he had a small socket too. Like, he put the hit in, and it was just fucking bouncing around there. It had so much extra space. And he hands me the pipe, and he's like, alright, hold this. So I put it to my mouth, and he lights it. And he's like, alright, hold it in as long as you can. And I was a little kid. I took the pussy-ass hits, and it was fucking hilarious. Because I took the smallest hits back then, and I was coughing my fucking lungs up. And, I only took like 2 hits, and they were like the tiny hits. It was like 2 hits off of the tiny amount of weed he gave me. And he was like, alright, yo, now I'm gonna smoke. And he takes one of them, and he puts it in the pipe. And honestly, I'm pretty sure the dude was like broke as fuck because literally all he brought was at most like a gram to smoke. And like, who the fuck only smokes a gram if you're chilling with someone? So like, anyways, yeah, he smokes like a quarter gram. I smoked whatever the amount was that one of those small ones was. And we go over to the skate park, and we're just riding around. And then he starts giggling, which was funny which is when I look back funny to me because I smoke a gram and I'm not necessarily giggly. I'm just like zoned the fuck out. And then he's all giggly off a quarter gram. And at the time, that guy was around the age I am now. So, it's not like, oh, he was only like 13, I was 10, and now I'm 16, and he was only 13. But no, he was 16, and now that I'm 16, I have a so much higher tolerance than that fucker. But anyways, yeah. So, after we smoked, he started giggling, and then at the time, I was one of those kids who would lie to look cool. And then he asked me, he's like, yo, do you feel it? And then in my mind, I'm like, oh, if I say no, he's going to think I'm a pussy. So I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. This shit's crazy. And then, like, honestly, I feel like such a retard that I agreed with him. I should have been like, nah, that shit was ass. Where the fuck did you get that? Like, actually, that shit was booty cheeks, my guy. But anyways, yeah. He was like, oh, we're sitting there, and he's like giggling, and then I'm forcing out giggles and laughs because I wanted to fit in. And then this bitch, not gonna say her real name, but I'll call her Layla, cause it's pretty close to her real name. But anyways, this bitch comes over, and I was sitting there with him, and some other guys came up. One of the guys is actually my current plug right now. He sells me bomb, like, hella good weed. But anyways, yeah, at the time, that guy and a bunch of other kids were like, oh, yo. They were like, oh, I don't believe you. You didn't smoke weed. And I'm like, yo, smell my breath. I swear to God, I was actually smoking. And then I'm getting, like, hella props from him. And they're like, oh, dude, that's sick. At the time, I realized that, it's really not that fucking big of a deal to smoke weed. And I was bragging way too much. And then that bitch, Layla, comes up. And then she's like, oh, you were smoking weed? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm acting like a fucking pimp at the time, because I think I'm all hot shit. And she's like, oh, okay, interesting. She gets on her bike and fucking dips out of there. And I see her going down the way to my house. And I'm like, that's a little weird. And at the time, I didn't know. And then my sister comes to the park, and she's like, Blake, were you smoking weed? And I'm like, how can you tell? And she's like, Layla just came over and asked to talk to Mom. But I told her Mom wasn't there, and when I asked why, she said you were smoking weed. And then it clicked in my head. This fucking bitch is going to tell my motherfucking mom that I was smoking weed. And then, so I'm like I'm tripping my shit. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna be so mad. And then, like, that other guy, he was like, oh shit, you're fucked. And then he started running. I don't know why. Like, he's like, it's not like I wouldn't be able to identify him. But anyways, yeah, my parents were like, and then she goes over, and then she told my mom, and then she rides back and finds me. And at the time, I remind you, I'm 10, so I'm hella emotional. And I'm sitting there, I'm like crying, because I'm about to get yelled at by my parents. Little did I know that's not the worst thing that can happen. But anyways, yeah, she comes over and she's like, oh, I went and told because I love you. Whatever the fuck that was. I know it was because she was my friend's older sister. And I know she was like, like, everyone knows my mom in the town. You know, she's pretty popular. So, you know, she knew my mom knew her. And she was like, oh, I did it because I love you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm crying. I'm like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you, you snitch. Because at the time, I watched a little too much MTV. And I was like, fuck you, you're a fucking snitch. As I'm bawling my eyes out, so she probably couldn't even tell what I was saying. But anyway, she's like, oh, please stop, no. And then my mom pulls up, and whole buddy, I was scared. I thought I was about to get my ass beat. Actually, I don't know why I was crying. I didn't know. I think I was just crying because I was scared she was going to yell at me. Which she did. And my stepdad, he still kind of fucking scares me. Like, he yelled at me, and I started crying even worse. But the weirdest part is, I never got fucking punished. Like, I got off scot-free. They just yelled at me for like 10 minutes, and then that's it. Like, I didn't get grounded, you know. They didn't take any of my shit. And at the time, I had like an iPod and like a DS and everything, so they could have easily just taken that. But they didn't, which kind of weirded me out. And, you know, that was my first time smoking weed. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, make sure to like it, comment, and subscribe to, you know, to get more videos like this one. Anyways, I'll see you later. Peace out, bitches.
Yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah, hey. Ay, ay, ay. I like bitch who is your mess, ay. Can't keep my dick in my pants, ay.